I did wrong. I'm open to the bones.
Yo, is Transformers just done? Hey, what's up everybody, Commander Radix here, bringing you another video, and today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a little bit, and that is the current state of Transformers. Now, I am a Transformers fan. I like Transformers. That's kind of obvious if you look at my channel for like more than a minute. But I've been feeling like there hasn't been a lot of Transformers content. I was going to say good Transformers content lately, but really there hasn't been like much of any Transformers content lately. And I want to take a moment to look at the Transformers content that's currently coming out right now, and I want you to see if you see the same thing I see. I want you to see if you see a common theme between everything coming out from Transformers at this current point in time. Now, traditionally, Transformers has had 3 pillars, and now we can make an argument that there are 4 pillars of media, of content, that are produced for the brand. Number 1 is, of course, toys, okay? But we don't really care about toys on this channel, right? So, we're going to take out toys. Now, the others are cartoons, comics, and movies. That's where, Transformers does its thing. So, cartoons, comics, and movies. So how has that been going for the Transformers franchise in the year of our Lord 2022? Well, let's look at cartoons. Are there any cartoons coming out right now? Not really. I know Netflix had their War for Cybertron trilogy, but that wrapped up a while ago. There's BotBots, which honestly I've heard good things about, but honestly, do you want your main Transformers cartoon to be BotBots? So to me, BotBots doesn't really count. It feels a lot more comedic, right? It doesn't really count as a mainstay Transformers series. But besides that, there's nothing going on right now in the cartoon world of Transformers. Transformers Earthspark has been announced. That's a thing, but it hasn't been released yet. And we'll talk about Transformers Earthspark later, when we talk about what's coming from Transformers. But that's cartoons. Basically nothing. How about movies? The last Transformers movie that was released was the Bumblebee film. Now, I saw the Bumblebee film in theaters a while ago, when I lived in America. 3 years ago? So the movie front for Transformers has been awfully quiet for a long time. For some reason, it is taking them forever to produce and create Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now, Rise of the Beast is another thing that I want to talk about alongside Earthspark, so we'll talk about that later. But as far as movies are concerned, nada. Of the 3 pillars of Transformers media, cartoons is barely doing anything, movies haven't done anything in years, so that's a lot of pressure that's being put on the comics branch of Transformers. Basically the comics are carrying the whole franchise. So what are the comics doing right now? Well, IDW lost their license to publish Hasbro-related material, including not just Transformers but G.I. Joe as well, because IDW has not been using those franchises well. Currently, I think there's a Beast Wars series, unless that wrapped up recently. There's a Shattered Glass and Shattered Glass 2 series coming out that's on this weird Shattered Glass universe that's unrelated to the previous Shattered Glass universe, which means it's ultimately inconsequential. And then their main IDW series is being cancelled very unceremoniously with this last, I think it was a one-shot that concludes the Transformers continuity in the second IDW universe. Not very good. And then there's Last Bot Standing, and we'll talk about that as well. Transformers: The Fate of Cybertron is the book in which the second IDW universe ends. It's meant to be the conclusion to that IDW universe. So we don't really have a lot going on in comics as well. And even in Japan, the Japanese manga, stuff that Takara is usually putting out, what comic series, what comic story arc are they currently putting out? What is it called? Alright, it's called The End of the G1 Universe. By the way, when IDW loses their license to publish Transformers and G.I. Joe books, that means their G.I. Joe A Real American Hero series is going to end at issue number 300, and that's very interesting because that's part of the same continuity that goes back all the way to the very first Transformers issue released by Marvel Comics. The story of Transformers starts with Transformers number 1, released by Marvel Comics in 1984. That's sort of the first Transformers continuity, and there's basically been always some sort of continuation of that continuity, whether it be the Classics verse, Generation 2, Regeneration 1, or the IDW continuation of the G.I. Joe comics that also took place in that universe. And that IDW G.I. Joe comic series also sometimes references that, there was this thing with the Transformers. There's this secret layer underneath the pit with a lot of robot bodies that was supposed to be used in a Transformers story. And at issue number 300, that continuity is going to end. So what I'm trying to say here is there is a common theme between Transformers series coming out right now. And that is this feeling that everything is ending. And partly, I guess, that has to deal with the fact that IDW is losing its license. But it very much feels like, closing time, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Cartoons are not doing anything. Movies are not doing anything. They're quiet. They're closed. In comics, the IDW universe just had The Fate of Cybertron, which is a bookend. It's a ending to a universe, okay? Besides that, they're releasing Transformers Last Bot Standing, which actually is a good miniseries. I want to cover it on Transformers lore. But Last Bot Standing is meant to be like the final Transformers story. They're trying not to put it in a specific continuity. Really, I think it fits best in the original IDW continuity, especially given Rodimus's design in that comic series. But it's made to be most of the Transformers are dead, there's just a few survivors, this is their story, right? It's a conclusion to Transformers, just like Fate of Cybertron was meant to end that the second IDW universe. The Japanese material is currently releasing something that they straight up call the end of the G1 universe. The Japanese Generation 1 cartoon continuity is presumably coming to an end with this new story arc that's being released on Takara Tomi's website. And that's about it. We just have like three pieces of media that are coming out, all of which are bringing things to an end. And what does the future of Transformers look like? Well, they haven't really decided who, if anybody, is going to get the license to publish Transformers and G.I. Joe books in the future, so the future of comics in general for Transformers is very much up in the air. As far as movies are concerned, it looks like you have Rise of the Beast, which is meant to be the beginning of a trilogy, last I heard, and it looks like it's not taking the lessons learned from Bumblebee. The Bumblebee movie did a lot to revitalize Transformers. It was a good Transformers movie, how rare is that? And it looks like for Rise of the Beast, it looks like they might have forgotten the lessons they learned from Bumblebee, and they're going back to doing another big Transformers story that's taking influence from previous pieces of Transformers continuity, but isn't actually a real good adaptation of that content people want to see. In the case of the Beast, I assume the Maximals and Predacons, and they're already jumping the shark by planning on this to be a trilogy. There were a lot of Transformers movies where they decided it was going to be the first of a trilogy, and then it didn't really work out that well. Obviously, Last Night was supposed to have a follow-up sequel. They're counting their chickens before they hatch. They're preparing for a cinematic universe like they've been doing for like the past decade, and they're not learning from their mistakes from the previous movies. Earthspark looks like... I've heard a lot of complaints about Earthspark, like how when they transform, they don't really transform, they just fade one model for another model. Frankly, on paper, the concept of Transformers Earthspark seems interesting, but I'm worried about some other aspects of Earthspark. If this is really going to be a quality Transformers series, I don't know. We'll see. I currently do not have the interest in watching it. Again, it's also a post-Shroud continuity, and you know how I feel about everything after the Shroud. But I am hesitant to give judgment on Earthspark, but I don't feel positive about it. Both Rise of the Beast and Earthspark have a very concerning trend to me, and that is a trend you'll see in other pieces of media these days, where they seem to care a lot more about things like politics and representation than they do the actual story. From what information we have of Rise of the Beast and or Earthspark, you have a lot of sort of representation and inclusive type language, which is unfortunate because usually that language, regardless of whether or not you think it's well-intentioned or not, stuff with that mindset usually doesn't produce good fiction. Usually, not always, right? But I'm concerned about some of those aspects of Rise of the Beast and Earthspark. So it looks like Transformers is ending, which is kind of sad. I feel like it was just only a few years ago where we had like 3 different really good Transformers books coming out, really good Transformers series. Bumblebee was a movie that came out that sort of revitalized the spirit of the franchise. And now it feels like Transformers is like, you go to a party and like most everyone has left and it's just a few guys who are getting into a really deep conversation in one corner of the room. They've already turned on the lights, people are sweeping. That's what the Transformers franchise feels like right now. Am I the only person who feels like this? What do you think? I go to Sabertron.com, and, back in the day you would have toy news and media news and, comic news. But now you go to Sabertron and it's like all toy news. And as someone who isn't really interested in the toys that much, I'm starting to not check Sabertron. Frankly, sometimes I forget Transformers is a thing, which is very unfortunate because I like Transformers. And I think you can tell with my channel that I like Transformers and I want to do more Transformers stuff. But at the same time, I kind of see it as a dying franchise, and I'm trying to move on to other niches and my other interests that I can talk about on this channel. The Commander Radix is not purely a Transformers channel, and lately I've been mingling with my other hobbies, especially history. We've had a few history videos come out recently. Of course, that doesn't mean Transformers is going anywhere. Transformers lore isn't going anywhere. They're still on this channel. They will still continue as usual. But it's just kind of sad thinking about how, I feel Transformers has fallen a bit. Does anybody else share this feeling? Please let me know in the comments how you feel. If you felt a little bit demoralized that there hasn't been much good Transformers content lately. I do think Last Bot Standing is pretty good though, but it is a mini-series that's meant to be the end of Transformers, right? I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And like I said, I still plan on continuing Transformers content. This channel is going to be a very weird channel where it's both a lot of Transformers content and a lot of history content, and I realize that those two types of content aren't really mutually inclusive of each other. There will be people who come here just for Transformers and people who come here just for history, and they'll feel a little bit weird when they see the other thing on this channel, but I think we can push through. I think we'll be okay. Anyway, that's my statement on the state of the franchise, the current situation Transformers finds itself in. Let me know how you feel. Please, if you're interested in Transformers or history, please subscribe to the channel if you'd like. Check out my social media in the description. There's only really Instagram. I got banned off Twitter a few years ago because I sent death threats to a bot. Or you could join the Discord server. That's also there. I'm a bit more active there. Why did I get banned off of Twitter? Why is it bad to send death threats to a bot? It's a bot. Did I hurt its feelings? Commander Radix hasn't been the same since my Twitter got banned. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Transformers lore on Gigantian coming soon? Oh, who knows?